Hey guys, have you ever had one of those weeks where you have so much to do you can't even really focus on where you need to start? Maybe you've come back from a long weekend, you have a day or two shorter at work, and it just feels like so much has come in while you're gone that it's piled up and you don't know what to begin with. I wanted to look today at some productivity hacks to help keep us in the stress-free zone at work, even in these moments when we're under a lot of pressure. So I have a few tips for today. My first one is to really, first of all, get everything out of your head. My favorite way of doing this is to use a Kanban style board. I use ZenKit, which is a free tool online, and you can basically just dump all of the things you need to do in there. You can put every little task you need. You can put a checklist of the subtasks. It's a great way to get it out of your head, which will initially help to reduce your stress. The next step, point number 2, is to intentionally prioritize. So I don't know if you're anything like me, but on days where I'm feeling overwhelmed, I end up just responding to emergencies and I'm in a reactive mode. I'm not intentionally choosing what I'm going to focus on. So for me, a big step is to recognize that and stop and choose what I'm going to intentionally focus on first. Again, ZenKit really helps me because it's a visual board, so I can see, how many things there are to do in different columns, what I have to do today, tomorrow, next, and I can see in that what I need to prioritize. The next thing is setting realistic expectations. So again, I don't know if you're like me, but I tend to have this little tendency of thinking I'm going to accomplish 25,000 things in, 3 hours. And then I'm frustrated at the end of the day when I've gotten done, 5 or 6. So again, ZenKit helps me prioritize and see what I can realistically accomplish because there's a very clear visual component to show me when I just have too much that I'm aiming for, and I have to slide some of those things into another day. It's just much easier for me to realize what I can accomplish in a short time frame. On that note, I also just want to touch on the importance of self-compassion because I think that's a big piece too, that when we're not being compassionate towards ourselves, when we're struggling, when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling like we aren't getting enough done, that kind of feeds into the cycle. Instead of, if we can stop and be compassionate towards ourselves, that can kind of break that cycle of negative thinking, which feeds into our frustration and feelings of overwhelm. My fourth suggestion would be schedule in your breaks and your downtime first. I have a tendency when things get really busy to decide that I'm going to skip my workouts, skip my meditation, skip all of the things that actually help me feel centered and grounded. And as I've worked over the years to establish a bit more of a balanced lifestyle and be less stressed overall, I've really had to focus on scheduling those things in first. And I work really, really hard to keep boundaries around that time, that me time, the time for self-care and for recharging my energies, especially in these stressful times. Because when I don't do that, my stress levels escalate even more. Tip number 5 is that once I've scheduled in my downtime, I start to schedule in blocks of time when I'm going to work on different tasks. So again, this goes back to intentionally choosing what we're going to focus on instead of just following, whatever thing comes in. When I've blocked time and I'm dumping what I need to do into ZenKit, and then I can pull out from that list. I can chunk those activities together and then block a set of time, like 2 hours to do outbound sales calls or 3 hours to make videos. And I find I'm much more productive when I consciously schedule that time for the week in advance, because then I can see where important tasks, there's no space to get them done. And I always overestimate how much time things are going to take. One really good tool for this is called Clockify. I think the website is clockify.me, and you can actually track how long different tasks are taking you. So I used that for a while, sort of to measure how accurate my guesses were in terms of how long I had scheduled for tasks and how long they actually took me so that I could better adjust my planning. And let me tell you, I wasn't even close as to how long a lot of the tasks kind of took me. And then my last tip for today is that when you sit down to work, I suggest you use something like the Pomodoro Technique. Now, the real classic Pomodoro Technique is that you work for 25 minutes, you set a timer, and you work and you focus on your task for 25 minutes, and you take a 5-minute break. And then you repeat. And I would suggest that We all have different attention spans, and some tasks we attend to better than others depending on how much we like them. I'd suggest you pick that block of time based on what you think you can be successful with, and then schedule in that 5-minute break. Another tool that a colleague of mine just told me about is called FocusMate. Now, I've never used it, but it's basically a system where you can pay, I think it's $4 a month, she said, and you have an accountability partner by computer who you have to check in with at the beginning and end of your work period. So it creates a little bit of accountability, especially if you're anything like me and you work from home and get distracted a little bit doing, the dishes and the laundry and whatever else pops up. Having that accountability partner can be super beneficial in making sure you stay on track. So that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed these tips. I'd love to hear if you have any other productivity hacks that you're using to help keep you focused and get your work done and help you feel less stressed during your busy weeks. Thanks for watching, guys.